Vijay Ramchandran has been researching this subject for 25 years now. And very starkly, it's only 17% of technology projects that achieve the intended business benefits. Now, why does this happen? This happens because IT is more complex than what we think it is. Most functions are at a crossroad of industry and function. Finance for manufacturing, finance for BFSI, HR for manufacturing, HR for BFSI. But we got to know technology for supporting all the functions, right from your HR, finance, manufacturing, maintenance, everything. Anything that you do with technology has a people impact. And that means that you may implement a technology, but will people use it? That's the first dimension. The second dimension is that management of IT is a nascent function. Most of the functions are more than 100 years old. IT is just about 30-year-old management function. Digital transformation, that's just about a 10-year-old function. What that means is that there is not sufficient amount of management science around IT and digital. And whatever is there, it is not fully disseminated. Now, the nature of the industry is that it's a high margin industry. For anything that you want to do, there are a plethora of options. And therefore, there's an intense amount of sales and marketing as well. When you combine that with the asymmetry of talent, you kind of get a clearer picture. 95% plus of technology talent is on the supply side, either with product vendors or with system integrators. And the very small minority is on the enterprise side. When you combine it with intense marketing and sales efforts, you kind of understand why it gets more confusing to select the right technology for yourself. Now, these factors come together, multidimensional complexity, two added dimensions of IT looking after entire enterprise processes, as well as the people impact of technology, IT being just a 30-year-old function, digital being less than a 10-year-old function, very competitive, very high margin industry, and very small minority of talent on the enterprise side. All of these converge together to give you the answer to the equation, 17%. That's where ClarITea Chat comes in. The science of managing IT is not that well disseminated. Therefore, it's still an art. And how do you learn the art? From accomplished artists, which is the CIOs and business leaders. These are informal discussions over a cup of tea, and that's ClarITea Chat for you. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Hi, Subbu.
Hi. Yeah, great to see you.
Hey, cheers, man. Cheers. Yeah. So everyone, Subbu is a very known and popular guy in the CIO circles. He's an OTIS veteran. He started out as India CIO of OTIS in 2000. He's currently the transformation and digital leader for EMEA based in Prague. So, Subbu, what time is it there right now? 1:30 p.m.?
Oh, it's exact 1:30.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So I know I'm getting you to drink a cup of tea at lunchtime.
Yeah, that's fine. Huh?
Oh yeah, anytime a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So Subbu has worked in electronics, manufacturing, FMCG, and engineering industries, and so to say, he settled in OTIS in 2000. He has grown as a leader in bigger and more global roles. He started out working on a shop floor, streamlining processes, and his first big change management challenge, working with unions and earning their respect. So he has some interesting stories, about managing people and change right from his first assignment. He comes across as a transparent, trusting leader who harmoniously takes together business functions in IT towards transformation and builds relationships effortlessly. He seamlessly transcends these to build one team even with partners. Now, I was talking to one of his partners, and I found that, theme defining Subbu, the way he was speaking about him, I said, oh, Subbu is a sheep in a fox's skin. So, so it's like, Subbu is a hard taskmaster. He drives. He will drive program timelines crazily. He will negotiate crazily, but he will never hurt you. He's such a nice and well-meaning person, soft guy. So okay, let's move on. So he believes in taking on any challenges, which is the hard taskmaster part I told you, and very importantly, by engaging people. He creates a one team with partners, and we'll hear from him the mechanisms he uses to enliven the partnerships in spirit and not just in lectures or words. He's a powerful communicator. He walks the talk. He communicates to guide change and build relationships. He is also a guest faculty in educational institutions where he shares his experiences and philosophies. So welcome, Subbu, to this edition of ClarITea Chat.
Thank you. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be connected, Jagdish, after quite a long time. And also it's to be digitally connected with all the audience across the world. And I'm looking forward for a very insightful conversations.
Thank you, Subbu. So Subbu, this is ClarITea Chat is a session where we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and technology folks in our audience. All have a common agenda, learning the art of finding success with technologies from the experiences of leaders like you and me. Now, early on, you transformed the shop floor with technologies. You earned the respect of unions. You did a stint with FMCG and then changed to an engineering build-to-order company. It's been a phenomenal growth journey for you. So please share some of your growth stories with us. Tell us what were some of the inflection points which really prepared you for the next part of your journey.
Yeah, so once again, good afternoon, everyone. So regarding in terms of the growth, okay, so one of the key aspects of, if I look at your video, you talked about art of managing IT. So I will redefine it as called art of enabling IT. Okay, that's a phenomenon, because how do you enable IT? So let me start, because I started my career with an IT company, but I shifted my gear to a corporate IT. So that's Danfoss was my second job. The first was Vidutun. So in Danfoss, so we were doing a major transformation in the factory by putting up the manufacturing systems. So as you are aware, Jagdish, that in any shop floor, there are two kinds of users. The one users in the shop floor are mostly unionized people, and the one is the staff people or the executive. So now when we talk about working or enabling IT in the shop floor, and that too on a manufacturing system, putting up JIT, that is just in time. So then we need to have that inclusiveness or the involvement or the participation by the shop floor people, because it's they are the people who will enter the transactions. Because when we talk about JIT, is the material comes to the gate and the guy will enter the quality checks, then he will enter the challan. So all this information goes into the value chain. So that's where then building that relationship is important, and most important, getting that buy-in, involvement, and then supporting. And that's where then what we did is, one of the good experience we had is when we want to do the training or the change management. And that's where then, so as you are aware, the union guys would not like to come to your staff or the conference room for training. And that's where then we have to have this training in the unionized, in the union canteen, or in a place where they are very convenient and comfortable. And second, language, because they can't understand English. So then you need to translate that complex technical language. I'm talking about it's more than 25 years, maybe 30 years. So when you talk about that, So it's important how do you translate and simplify the terms and the processes which is understood by them, and then they use the system. And believe me, we never had any turnback. There was no issues. Okay. So I one of the key learning is relationship, and people are people. It's very important. You can't put tech. There is a nice saying called technology can be put in place, but it's the people who make it happen. So ultimately, whatever technology we can put, but if the people are not aligned, if the people are not able to use the system or adapt to the system, and there is no point in creating any success on technology. So this was one of the key learning is how do you build effective relation? How do you connect with people? So that was my very great experience of connecting with people in the shop floor. And then finally, after when we deployed the system, the most important, the credit, what do you call the success, when you see people using those systems, and that's what you feel happiness. Okay, so that is that is on the Danfoss. Now let me shift the gear to another learning experience in Marico. That was a wonderful, unique experience. So we had around about 3 factories, one in Kanjikot, then one in Goa, and one in Shivri. Then of course there was a factory in Jalgaon. So now we were putting up the connectivity. Okay, so monsoons are very fearsome in Goa and as well as in Kerala. You can't imagine, you can't predict anything. When it will rain, when it will stop rain, how long it will not rain. So we had this, the big dish of 3.2 meters, the big dish. So we are putting up the satellite, the network, the dish network.
The days of the resets.
Yeah, the VSATs. That's good. So then we had the partners, the team was there with me in Kanjikot, that is in Kerala, and it was raining mad. And telling it was like raining heavily. And then how to install the elevator, how to install the VSATs. That's more important. And second, every factory has their union. So that's again a challenge. So the second time I'm facing another strong union, which is 2 unions now. Okay, the one union which manages half of the factory, and the second union manages the second part of the factory. And my VSAT is to be installed in the second part, which is like the edge of the first union, the border. Okay, so then, but I need to get the VSAT from the gate to this place. So the first union was telling, no, you have to take our people to carry that VSAT to this place. So I told you cannot carry. It's a very sensitive dish. It can break. So the lorry has to come. No, we will not allow. And that's where then again the relationship comes in. So because having known the local language there a little bit, and along with the local team, my IT team, and the people, so they helped me a lot. And see, it's all about breaking that ice or breaking the barrier. So then that's where we need to walk that extra mile. So I can say, oh, I'm a director, I'm a manager, I can sit in my cabin. I want them to come to my place to talk. No, I walked to those people, we talked to those people, we sat with them and told what is the use of this. By putting this, it's not about we are watching movies. Okay, so it's all about putting some systems, because automating that entire process, starting from the receipt of the raw material to creating the final product, because that's the value chain we are automating. And that way then we were able to convince, believe me, we got a good support. And finally, we were able to implement the VSAT. Of course, the rains are rain. So then we have to manage the rain. Whenever the rain stops, then you rush, put up the VSAT. But finally, we were able to get the network up and running without any delays, and there were no cost overruns. So that's the beauty. Again, the learning is relationship, connecting people, and second, giving the respect what is required for them. It's important. It's a mutual respect. And finally, we need to have a common goal. See, I'm not doing that VSAT for me, or in the earlier company, I was not implementing a system for me. It's for the company. It's for the benefit of the people. So that's where then you create a
absolutely. Yeah. So Subbu, I think you touched upon something which is very, very I would say central to you.
Yeah.
Which is respect for people. And I've seen this everywhere. Even, as we were planning this particular event, I have seen, I think the way you have responded, the way you have, connected, the way you have contributed in terms of, hey, let's bring this up, let's bring that up, and I think it really talks a lot about you in terms of your respect for others and respecting what they are doing. So I think that would have gone. I'm sure that would have contributed a lot in terms of your own growth itself.
Yeah.
But I want to touch upon something else here with you. I mean, who have been your mentors?
Wow.
Who have told you those life lessons?
Okay, so it's so when that's where so there are I was very fortunate and blessed to work with some of the great leaders and also with great people, because sometimes your people can also become your mentor. Okay, and they can also they can also guide you. So most important, let me come back to the first step. So I had privilege and opportunity to work and groom by great leaders. So the one of the leader was my first CEO when I was working with Danfoss, and he was the art of leadership in any management. Because it was, I learned that part on the very first beginning is like what do you call how do you manage people? How do you, even when you're coming for the meeting, okay, the management meeting or anything, how you come prepared, okay, and so that you don't waste everybody's time. So these are the things which we learned. And second, there is a process. Okay, it's not a one-day journey. So there was a continual process of grooming. Then the next company, then of course, then OTIS. I was privileged to work with some of the excellent leaders in this company. I just love this company, and it's excellent. So I had an opportunity to learn many things from many people in terms of the global leadership, in terms of connecting with people, in terms of multicultural environment, in terms of diversity. And second, how do you handle complexities? Okay. And second, as another important aspect is how do you come out with a holistic view of the business? It's more, see, technology is one piece, but if I don't understand the business, if I don't understand the industry, and then technology? That is the question. And the last one, in terms of the mentors.
No, hold on, Subbu. So the point is that who taught you all this? That's what people are interested.
Well, I can't name one person, so that's it, because it will give injustice.
Just tell a few.
Yeah, so there are many, the CEOs whom I reported in all these companies. Okay, they are my boss, they are my presidents, and they are my leaders, which includes the CEOs, the CFOs, and the HR, the various leaders. So when you work with them, then you learn something from them. And of course, when you're reporting to your presidents or to your CEOs or MD, and of course they take interest, and also I take that interest. So there is something called, when you have that inclination and intention to become a leader, then what happens? You will take the first step to learn what you want to become a leader, and then you continuously implement all those learnings, and so that you grow. It's simple one. I'll just take you, like how do you speak in a forum? Like when there are all MDs and presidents sitting there, then how do you present? Okay, you have a slot of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and how do you tell that story to all your peers and all to the leadership team that, okay, this is what you did, this was the plan, and this was the success you created, and this is what went wrong, and what are the actions you took to turn around, and then how do you plan it to take it forward? So these are the things you learn it as a part of the leadership team. And of course, then being part of the CIO fraternity, so I had an opportunity to work with Vijay and many people, and that's where then you also learn from them. So they are also part of your mentorship.
I think Jagdish sir has some internet connection.
Okay.
So I would like Subbu sir to go ahead with the plan that we have. There are some audiences also that we have. Mr. Mehrar Patel and Mr. Venkatesh Natarajan as well.
Okay.
So Subbu sir, we would like you to continue with the plan that we have. So once
Okay.
Jagdish sir joins us, so he will be continue with the things that will be having.
Okay. So just while Jagdish joins the call, I just want to stress upon each and everyone who is attending this section is it's important to identify a leader. It's important to identify a mentor. It's important to identify a coach because it's in your journey, because in your professional journey, this will shape the entire career. So it's important to identify what you want to be mentored and what you want to become as a leader. Then leadership is a journey because it's not a destination that what you call we can achieve it in a span of time. So when you identify this mentor, and then it's important to identify what is your improvement, what's your goal, and what's your short-term goal, what's your long-term goal. And that's where then when you collaborate and work with the mentors and also with the coach, then it will help you to shape up your personality and you create your own persona. So these are the things which I learned over the years, and still in my role currently, even now, I do have my coach and I do have my mentor, and continually that's where we continually improve upon our limitations. And then how do I maximize my strength? So everybody talks about that we need to identify strengths and weakness, and everybody talks that we need to focus on weakness so that this weakness becomes a strength. But I would like to put it in a reverse way. If you have a strength, then how do you maximize your strength to overcome your limitations? Because there is no point in putting too much of energy to convert your weakness into strength. But what's more important, the more you maximize your strength, then automatically your weakness becomes smaller and smaller. And that way, then you overcome your limitations, and then your strength will play for your winning combination. And these are the personas we need to create in the corporate world. And some of the examples I would like to talk about is so the moment after I left America, then I joined OTIS in around about 2000. And that was a very interesting journey for me because OTIS is around about 21 years I've been spent in this great company. I've been working across geographies. So I started with India, which is again a complex network, complex location across having around about 85 locations with a factory in Bangalore. And then I became the CIO for Middle East, again another complex entity with around about multiple geographies, multiple culture, diversity. And then later on, I became the CIO for APAC region, which is again around about 15 countries, complex landscape, multicultural, diversified environment. And finally, around about 2015 to 2016, I moved to Europe, which is around about 43 plus countries. So diversity, multicultural, complex environment. So that's the beauty and art when you work for a global organization. So you get an opportunity to work across culture, across diversity, complex landscape, complex business scenarios, the various business models. And what are the key learning? Number one, it's important to understand the industry. So that's where I spent a lot of time in my career, starting from the day one, to know what is OTIS. How do we make elevators? What challenges we face in the service? Okay, why safety is the paramount for OTIS, and how integrity plays a very important role in OTIS. So these are the things. It's create a strong foundation, because it's important to create a foundation. Knowing your company creates a strong foundation. So that's the fundamental thing everybody should invest, to know what the company you're working, what challenges you're facing, and what is the industry is all about, and then will define and help you in defining your career, in defining what technologies you want to put in place. Jagdish, for you.
Sorry, Subbu, my laptop crashed.
Wow, that's not good.
So while we were doing our preps, we hadn't prepped for that scenario.
But that's a challenge. So this is again a challenge, because when you talk about, you asked me about question on failures. So one of the important question you asked about what is the most important failure you faced in your life. So I will put it like this: for every success there is a failure. Okay, It's not that what you call we created some miracles and magic in the life that what you call there are no failures. But what's more important is accepting and adapt and accepting that failure is a failure. Okay, and then if you recognize that failure as a blockers, then you get blocked. It's simple. That the life is blocked.
Yeah.
But if you recognize that failure as a possibilities, as an opportunity for learning, as an opportunity to bounce back, and that's where we create success. So let me take like example. One of the example is the VSAT. We had tough time. It's what you call there is a fixed timelines. One is I can happily sit in Kanjikot and tell because the rain is creating havoc. I cannot create success. And the same thing in my first company, I can say, oh, unions are creating challenge. I cannot implement the system. But that's okay. You have blockers, but at the same time, how do you navigate like a flow of river and say these boulders can block, but at the same time the river flows. So these are the learnings which I learned in my life is one, yes, you accept the problem as a problem. Okay, then we will know how to identify those possibilities.
Sure. So, Subbu, I mean, my learning is next time when I'm doing a live telecast, I am going to put another laptop next to me. I will be in the studio on that. And in case I get dropped out from there, I will join from here. So I already have the contingency plan, in place for the next. But by the way, now coming back to, so Subbu, I don't know what you covered. Did you cover the taking the business function?
I need to start on OTIS.
Yeah. Okay. So I think some good questions already started coming. Yeah. And I think this will connect to, one of the questions that I had for you as to, how has been the transition from, an India-specific, CIO to a more bigger and bigger global leader. And I think there is a question from Meher here, which says, provide your experience working with OTIS in India and then in Prague, how international organizations seeing Indian minds for their company's success. Super. And I would like to just add a small thing here, which is, Subbu, as you move into a bigger global role, there are some things which remain the same and there are some things which have to change. What are those?
Yeah, so I think it's a very wonderful question by Meher, my another great friend. Okay, so so let us talk about when we talk about moving beyond borders. Okay, so when you are in a border, that is when you are within a country, then the landscape is different and the culture is different and the experience is different. So now that is a foundation, that's a base, because it's the same company. Okay, so so you know what the company is, what the industry is, and you know what product we sell, what is the market. And most important, when you move beyond the borders, the first and foremost comes is culture, because we will meet people with different culture, different diversity, and different complex landscape. So let me start with culture. Okay, what is culture? Culture is again made of people. Okay, it's so when we talk about culture, it's important to understand that culture. So like example, when I was working in Middle East, it's important to understand that culture. Same in Europe, 43 countries, 43 different culture. Asia Pacific, 12 countries, 12 different cultures. So it's important to understand that culture, be aware of the culture, and recognize and appreciate that culture. So it's not a good way to compare two cultures. A culture is a culture. It has a history, it has a tradition, and it is having some enriching or reaching experience. And that's what we need to learn that. Okay, so when we learn the first step of culture, then comes adaptability. Okay, so how do you adapt to those situations? How do we adapt to those scenarios? So like example, Middle East, you have a timing factor for everything, because we don't work on Fridays. So there is a shift, and even during the weekdays, there are there are restrictions. So how do you manage that? And same thing, Europe time zones are different. So how do you manage that? And APAC, Australia time zone is totally different when compared to India. So then how do we manage to work in the different time zones with different people? And the third is the assumptions, because we all assume that everything is fine. I implement a project in one country, and there is something called control C. Okay, and then I can go and put a control paste there, and it will work. Wow, it doesn't work. Okay, every country is unique. Every country, as the landscape is different, and everybody has certain uniqueness. Despite we all work for one company, but still there are some standard process, but there are certain uniqueness. So what's important as leaders is, how do you identify that uniqueness or the specific requirement for that particular country? So this is very important. So this is where is the learning. So one is the culture, and second is the adaptability. Third is the landscape. The landscape can be industry, because I can say, oh man, we sell elevators in India like this. So I go with this assumption, then I go to Middle East. No, oh man, we have the pricing model is totally different. And I come back to Europe, the pricing model is different. Oh, then that's where is learning, the learning experience. So if I block myself and say, no, I go with a pre-assumption mindset and say, oh, this is how, then you stop your learning. So this is a great learning opportunity to understand the industry landscape, the complex business landscape. And third is the business model. The business model, despite we all work for a company, but still every country has their own business model. And the last one, which is important, is the people. Again, I come back to the people. Okay, how do we connect with the people? That's the most important. And as IT leaders, we are the one who connect with people using technology. You got it? Our network, every PC, every laptop, iPhone device is connected with the people for information flow. But are we really connecting with people as human beings? That's more important. So that's where I put a lot of effort in building that relationship, because when you build relationship, your teaming becomes easy. Your success, you will create the path for success for everyone who follows that path. That's more important, because when we know how to connect with people, when we understand the people, then we involve people in that project. Okay, one experience, Jagdish, I would like to give in Bahrain. When we were doing this integration project, there was an unrest in Bahrain. Okay, all of us know what happened there. Okay, unrest, which started from Greece, then spread over there, and then. But we have a time bond, because there is this project, there is the cost. We need to get that integration done. Bahrain has to be integrated with OTIS, United Technology. We need to do that. So we have the global team there. We have my partners. Then the good part is the people in the team in Bahrain, including the MD, the CFO, they were able to support you. We can't imagine, because we were able to. We brought the PCs. We installed the PCs on our own, because we didn't have so many engineers, and we need to finish that project within 3 days, because we know what's happening outside. We know how dangerous the environment is outside. And that's where I'm telling you, when you build relationship with people, people will walk that extra mile to support you. That's the fundamental crux of any teaming.
Oh, absolutely. So, Subbu, when you're talking about the cultures, what are the things that we need to keep in mind? I want to add one more thing there, which I have seen, which is judgment, right? So we have to hold back our judgment, because the mistake that we do is, we, from the place that we are standing, we start judging other people. We start making all kinds of those remarks, right? And which is basically nothing but a judgment. So, if we hold back our judgment and then we replace judgment with understanding, okay, I think that makes much more sense. So,
see, why this judgment comes? Because of the ego barrier. It's simple. The moment, when we remove this ego, ego is nothing but enveloping God over. It's a reverse. So the moment you remove ego, then there is no barriers. So there is no judgment. So what is there is there. It's the face value. Huh? Okay, that's it. So then you deal with people. Then you don't deal with anybody. When you deal with people, you deal in the same level playing ground.
No, absolutely. And I think there's I would like to also connect it to a very, very important leadership quality, which is humility. The lack of ego is humility. So you have to be humble. enough to, let's say, understand what others are, regardless of whether it's a small geography or a big geography. You don't basically ride over anybody, okay, ride roughshod over anybody.
Agreed.
You don't undermine anyone. So that's humility for you. Humility basically comes out of the fact that, what, I mean, it's not me who's powerful, it's my position.
Agreed.
But, I'll connect with you as a human being.
Yeah, I'll give 2 examples on this small and a big. We all attended orchestra, correct? Okay, all of us attend various forms of, I've seen orchestra. In an orchestra, there will be a singer, then there will be various musical instrument playing. Some are big, some are small, some are medium. Now, you cannot say this small musical instrument is not good, but ultimately, if you want to get a very nice melodious soul rendering music, everybody has to perform in a sync. So the same thing in any, and the same with the puzzle. No, if you ever played a jigsaw puzzle, some puzzles are very big, some puzzle points are very small. But at the same time, when you connect everything, then it becomes a beautiful art. Okay, the same thing. Organization is art. Organization is an orchestra. So when every company, when every country, every people connect with each other, irrespective of big or small or medium, and that creates a very nice melodious and soulful rendering music, which creates a unique customer experience for people. And it's the same applies with the function also. As I head the IT function, the same principle applies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Subbu, at this point, I think it is a nice segue into the next question, which is managing change. Okay, and being a good communicator. I think a lot of IT leaders, they don't give enough importance or enough, I would say, efforts in building that skill of communicating effectively. So tell us about managing communications. I mean, the importance of being a good communicator, and what makes you a good communicator, and some case study about where communication help you manage change effectively.
Yeah, so this learning, the communication learning is a lifelong exercise. Okay, we improvise at every stage because, and that too when you come from one country and when you start expanding your horizon to become a global, and the method and means of modalities of communication change. So the number one principle of any communication again is connecting with people, because you're speaking to somebody. So then we need to know who is the audience, target audience, and that's more important. Okay, and how do we want to connect with people? With words, with messages. Okay, that's more important, because sometimes we use complex words in communication that creates a lot of confusion. As IT people, we try to put a lot of jargons. So then what happens? It creates so many jargons, and ultimately everybody knows what happens. So most important, words. What is the words? What you choose in communication? And what is the message? Because message is very powerful. Okay, so when I worked in Marico, that's where I learned the art of branding. What is the importance of brand? That in 2 seconds, you show an advertisement and it has to catch the eyes of the people, and that's where you apply those principles. See, it may not be directly related to communication, but still you try to learn all these things and say, hey, how do I package it and say, how do I come? What are the words I need to choose, and what is the message I want to use? Even when I'm presenting IT strategy or IT update, it's important to choose the words and the message, what you want to convey, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. But it's important to communicate all the three. Okay. And second, that's point number 2. And the third is the communication involving and engaging, or it is directional? So it's important to, based on the situation, then we decide what communication we want to send. Okay, if you want to communicate a strategy which is already been defined and you want to communicate, and then then there is a different way of communicating. But if it is a team-based communication, and that's where we need to talk about engaging, because it's not about, okay, hey, what do you call it? This is the way we need to do, but it's almost important to understand how do we engage people even in that communication, so that you get that support. And the last but not least in today's world is digital communication, because today, for the last so many years, And precisely for the last 2 years, everybody is sitting on this computer laptop with glued to these the camera and screen. And then that's where there is a concept called executive presence. So I had an opportunity to attend this executive presence training, and where we are what you call channelized or learned the art of what you call these communication, which includes your messages, how do you speak, then how do you communicate, how do you collaborate, and what words you choose, and what is the messages you choose. So these are the things when people start practicing, then it becomes a flow, because communication has to flow. And it's a story. See, even your project update can be a story. Huh? It's not that what you call everything has to be structured, what went well, what went wrong. You can tell a story. That's fine. So
Absolutely.
ultimately,
Absolutely.
It's an art.
Absolutely. So, so Subbu, I think this is something that I also hold central to me, that the purpose of your communication is the audience. So so you have to understand why somebody is listening to you. Okay, what is his expectation from you, and then you have to adopt your communication to them. Right?
Okay. See, one of the things is preparing for that meeting is also important. Huh? So when you know there is a management meeting, so you prepare very well, and you should have that experience to know what questions will be asked, and so that you are properly prepared to know what should be the frame and what should be the response, and so that it becomes engaging communication during that meeting.
Absolutely. I think that's a very important one. Whether you are presenting to a big forum, or whether you are speaking to the team, the prep, or sometimes the good communicators, they always rehearse in a small group and ask for feedback. I mean, how's my body language looking? Okay, should I be more relaxed and stuff like that. By the way, the other very important piece that you mentioned is about executive presence. And I think that's a lot about the non-verbal communication, right? Are your shoulders stooping? That's not executive presence. Is your head up? What's the tone of your voice? Are you giving meaningful pauses and all of that? And I think it's a very important factor that you brought out, that all of us need to learn what are the elements and what are those techniques to develop an executive presence. Okay. Which is, and they say that almost 90% of your communication is actually non-verbal communication.
Agreed.
So the power of your communication also comes out of how you say what you say, right?
Agreed.
So let's move on to some questions, Subbu. I mean, I don't want to park them for the end. I have one question here from Praveen, which is why is it not coming? Okay, here it is. Says, Subbu, it's great hearing your thoughts and experiences, very insightful. Would be great to hear what are your topmost priorities for OTIS in next 2-3 years.
Okay, so the top, what are the top 3 priorities is again is on what I call how do we accelerate the transformation initiatives what we are doing. Okay. So that's point number 1. Okay, the various transformation, which is digital transformation and everything. So how do we accelerate and get this moving beyond across the zone? That's on the point number 1. And point number 2 and 3, which is more important, is again how do we make sure that everyone is engaged and get involved into this part of the journey to create this transformation as a unique, enriching experience for the company. And finally, then we create some value for the customers. I think we lost Jagdish.
Yeah, sorry. I just experimenting with how does it look if Subbu occupies the entire screen as he's
that's good. Huh? It's a grandeur.
I was just experimenting.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming back, another question is there from Minanath Dhaske, which is I hope I pronounced it correctly. What do you think is a good approach, using a standard enterprise application stack available, or building our own customized application to suit business?
See, again, this is again a strategy every company takes. Okay, so based on your industry, based on your organization, and based on your complexities, the landscape, then that's what you call, we define strategy, whether we want to go for a complete outsource model of hosting model of application, or sit and build that application within the company, or the third, which is a combination of both. You do 50% outsourced and the 50% in-house. So this is it's very difficult to define a strategy and give you a guidance. But at a leadership level, if you want my opinion on an open thought, today there are a lot of applications available on the hosted model. So most important is, how do you create that quick win? Because is your organization ready to spend that time, effort, energy to build that application within your company, and then what you call scale up, and we take around about 1 year, 2 years to build that application. But if something is available off the shelf with a little bit of customization, and you create a quick win, because today it's all about discipline of execution, speed, agility, and rapid. So that's more important. So that is a decision today every organization is taking. That I would recommend that you need to little bit deep dive and see what is good for your organization and how fast you can deliver. That's more important.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. It is about how fast you deliver business benefits. Yes. Now, the other thing also is that there's like a framework which you can check, Minanath. This is called a base layer framework. In the base layer framework, you have got a sort of system of records, systems of differentiation, systems of innovation. Typically, in a system of records and system of differentiation, you would typically go with like standard products which get you off the mark faster, and probably something which is systems of innovation where you want to be like absolutely unique to you. I think those are the areas you would reserve for custom development.
Yeah.
So and again,
I just want to add one more thing is one more thing is see, every organization has their own custom built application which is running for over the years. So it's highly impossible to move everything to the cloud or whatever is it. Okay. So it's important to define a transformation path, a transformation journey, and a transformation architecture. Like, what is that you want to transform, and what is that you want to retain for some time, and what is the period of retaining the existing system. And that's where then what happens, you slowly start moving your organization towards your transformation journey. And that way then what happens, you keep up the pace, and second, you keep up what I call, you still focus on the rapid deployment of all these technologies, so that you get a value added from all these emerging trends, what is there in the market.
Absolutely. So it's always going to be a yin yang. You preserve something and you change something. You preserve something, you change something.
Agree.
Okay, that's great, Subbu. So we have one more question here from Amrinder. Hey, thanks, Amrinder, for being a regular here. Being a very popular, people-centric leader, how do you manage conflict?
Hi, Amrinder. How are you? Nice to talk to you. Yeah, conflict. So now coming back on the conflict, why do conflict comes? Because it's all about alignment. Now again, when we talk about alignment, it's a nice word, but what do we call my alignment or your alignment? So again, there is a conflict. So when you have a conflict or a non-alignment, it's important to be realistic and say, oh, there is a difference of opinion between me and the other people, means the team or whatever is there. Okay, so that's when you recognize that. And the second, what are the reasons? And then that will help you to create a path or understanding to resolve that conflict. And that's where I say, when you put your ego into the conflict, then it's like adding fuel to the fire. Okay. So the moment you remove that ego outside, and then you focus on the core issues and say, is it aligned to the common goal? See, you can't have 100% alignment for every project or everything. But when you define a common goal and a common purpose, and then if you are able to align on the common objectives and the common activities and tasks, and then what we do is we create a winning situation. Because we face conflict in projects, we face conflict with various partners and everybody. But what's more important is how do we come together to solve and address this solution to create that common goal and achieve that common objective for what we are all working for.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So
great answer.
I will give you a very nice example, spiritual example, Jagdish, if you give me. So,
please.
See, all of us know Mahabharata Chakravyuh, okay? And Abhimanyu got stuck in Chakravyuh. But what is the beauty of Lord Krishna? Lord Krishna I admire him as a great leader, divine, everything. The beauty is he never got stuck into any situation. He was always on top of the situation. So when you are on top of the situation, then you get a holistic view of what's happening. And that way, then we will be in a position to resolve any conflict which comes, and then we will be able to get that better alignment. So that is what I would like to follow, and I would request if anyone wants to follow the simple principle. It's beautiful.
No, absolutely. In fact, sometimes the methodology that I have used, especially when you're like two different departments in conflict, I would say, hey, you know what? Like, let's try to go one level higher. Okay, so my boss, your boss. If my boss, your boss are same, then no point fighting, because we have to align to our boss's objectives. But
that's a good, that's a nice. But how long we would like to go to the leaders? So
no. What I'm saying is that we don't go to him. We start thinking from his objectives point of view.
Yeah.
So we keep taking the objectives a level higher and a level higher, and then we will find that there is a point where, that difference disappears. And I think when we look at our conflicts in the context of that higher level objective, we are able to say that, okay, you know what, I need to let go of this, and you need to let go of this, right?
I totally see. You used a very powerful word, let go. That's more important. When we try to catch on to that, then there is no way we can let go many things.
Correct. I think, that's right. Okay, so here is another question from Mrinal. Hey, thanks, Mrinal. Good to see you here. If CIO gets into business side as a leader, what will be your advice?
So leadership is a leadership. It doesn't matter whether you work for business or IT. That's the fundamental point I want to clarify to everyone, because this debate of whether the CIO should be in business, but CIO is part of the business. That's point number 2. Okay, irrespective of what organization we all work, wherever we work, IT is a function in the company, in a corporate world. So we are part of the business. But the only thing, we use technology to drive business. That's the whatever you want to call enabler, what is it? So point number 1, we are all leaders. And point number 2, we are part of the business. We are inclusive to the business. So we have the equal stake in driving that business for the way the business wants us to drive. So now, as a leader, I use technology. Somebody use process. Somebody use something. But ultimately, how do I collaborate with various leaders in an organization and their teams to co-create that value? So that's what I come back to the example of orchestra. How we all play the different instruments and musical instrument, and somebody is singing, and how do we tune to create that soulful rendering performance, and so that it creates an enriching value for the customers.
So, Mrinal, my response to this will be, if you go on to the business side as a leader, first thing you start probably getting more money.
One, and second is, Mrinal, the other question is important to understand the industry and the business also. It's important. So that also helps a CIO, because when we know the business processes, when we know the business models and the ever-changing dynamic business models because of the COVID. And third is the industry, because today the industry is very competitive, very dynamic. You don't know who are the new competitors. Then how are we going to face those competition in the 21st century? And then when we put that thinking hat as leaders, then understand that business acumen, the business judgment, and the business innovation, then we create a forward-thinking strategy to create that transformation and create that execution.
Yeah, and I think if a CIO becomes a business leader, in my view, there's a natural advantage, because you know the power of technology as to how it can help you, make the function lean and mean, whichever function you are going to. But of course, there are some new things to learn, and what Subbu said very importantly, the game of collaboration never changes. You will always require the help of other leaders to learn to transform that function. So Now let's go to, I think.
Yeah, but that is before you move. CIO is part of the business. The moment we create barrier within ourselves, and believe me, everybody, organization will create barriers. The moment I don't create barriers and I feel that I am a business leader and managing an IT function, and then the chapter is closed. That's it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely no doubts about it. You know, we have to get out of this, you know, this differentiation between IT and business. Both are business. Now, coming back to, you know, the next question from Bodaji, which is, thank you, Mr. Boda, for being here. Subbu, what digital initiatives are taken by OTIS to improve safety and customer experience? And he had, I think, a similar question coming from LinkedIn. Can you share some insights into how you're transforming safety of lifts through digital? Over to you.
So there is a lot of investment going on for the last couple of years as a part of digital transformation in terms of these elevators. The one is that we put up some IoT solution, which is called OTIS One, which is used for remote monitoring, report troubleshooting and everything. And there is a nice video available in otis.com, which talks about OTIS One using IoT technology. That's point number one. That is related to the service. And second, in terms of the product. So over the years, we have improvised various technological innovation and into the product manufacturing, so that today we have this latest gen elevator, which is machine roomless, and very state-of-art elevator, which is technologically advantage. So that's on the point number two. And point number three, in terms of the overall way we perform service, it has been transformed over the years. Now, as OTIS is an independent company for the last 1.5 years, so there is a lot of stress, a lot of importance going on in terms of service. So we launch various service initiatives for various customers for various levels. That's point number three. And the last but not least, if you go to visit otis.com, so we have various tools like OTIS Create and everything, which facilitates the builders, architects to create the planning, the layouts, and other stuff. So there are many digital initiatives happening at OTIS Space. So maybe it's good if you connect with me one-to-one, so I can share more on that.
Thank you, Subbu. So here is a question from Vijay. I'm in B2B sales with a system integrator, and I have a question. When an IT vendor approaches you for a meeting, what will make you agree to the meeting? What subject will make you agree to meet? Tricky question.
Wow, that's a nice question.
If you answer this question, then with this using the same answer, Vijay is going to connect with you, and you cannot refuse him a meeting.
Okay, okay. Let me put it like this. Let me put an honest feedback. Okay. Yes, because as IT leaders, I do get a lot of requests for meeting. Okay, that's so. First is I would request people who want to seek out meeting for me. It's important to see. I'm ready to have a meeting with the vendors. That's it's because it's a learning experience. Okay, because you don't know what vendor was the unique probability or unique proposition. You don't know. Okay, so it's first is yes. Any email comes, yes, I will make sure that if I have a time, then I will make sure I'm available for the 15 minutes intro call. Okay. Now, whatever I expect from the intro call, that's more important. How the vendors come prepared for that intro call is not only just talking about the overview of organization, but also talking about what is the solution they want to present to me. So that's where I talked about executive presence. No, it's all about what is that you want to present. Okay, and then what is that value it will bring to me? So because today, if you to know about OTIS elevator, I don't need to do a section. It is there, and if you go to my website, suppose if you are reaching out to me, you know that I work for OTIS. So then it's important to go to my website. Same thing applies for any IT leaders, any vendors. They can go and do some due diligence to know what this company is all about, what is that they are doing, and then when you reach out, then it can create. You don't know. It can create some possibilities, or it can create some opportunities. So it's all the way we want to play the game that decides the path ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Subbu, I think I'll come again back to like one of your themes that I have understood so far. That Subbu is all about connection. You have to find a connection to Subbu. You have to understand what he is looking for, what are his pressures, what are his challenges. And I think it's not limited to Subbu, but anyone, if you are able to do your research, your checking around, and preparation, that is what Subbu has been talking about. If you really prepare well, and then that connection gets established, that yes, this guy knows about me, he has put an efforts to figure out what kind of challenges I might have, etc., etc., then I think that is what will leave a good impression. So Subbu, interest of time, I'll go on to my last question, which is again on the similar theme, which is partners. You come across as an inclusive leader, okay, and I know when I talk to you that you also manage partners very, very inclusively. So tell us some mechanisms that you use to create a high-performing team, including the partners, and how do you melt the boundaries between different organizations as you're working on a common project?
Yeah, so so let us put it into two parts. One is the partners. Okay, so once we decide a particular vendor to be a partner, okay, and then they become part of the team. That's it. So they are no more called vendors. Whatever name you want to give, vendor, supplier, whatever name, it's that jargon is out. Okay, I hate those words when they become part of the team. That's point number one. Okay, because when you talk about the word team, no, it's very powerful. It's inclusiveness. So there are many things which we talked about it. So number one is once we decide, and that the partner becomes your team member. So when we talk about team member, then we talk about holistic view, holistic understanding of the project. Okay, whatever project we are doing, holistic understanding. They are part of the project. They understand what is that we need to do. They know what needs to be delivered. What is the timeline we are looking at? What challenges we are facing? So then they are part of that entire gamut. Okay, it's a complete arena they need to play. Okay, it's not so that is point number two. And the point number three, skills, because this is most important, skills and competencies. So sometimes the partner community comes with technological skills, okay, but the gap is the understanding of the business, the understanding of the domain, okay, the project domain, that understanding of the requirement. Okay, so that is where then we also try to help and see to connect with the business people and the right people from the business or the functions, the various functions where we want to deploy this project. So they also get an opportunity to understand the processes, understand the business, understand the scoping. So that way, then it becomes a collaborative effort. Okay, so that is point number three. And the last, which is important, is the technical skills, competencies, what is required. And that's where everybody has to invest their time and energy to know, okay, I have a technical and competency, but do I need to increase it? And do I need to scale up? And that's where then, based on the requirement, then the people have to invest time and energy to learn that skill so that you deliver the best. See, finally, it's important to understand that when we select a partner and that team member becomes part of my team, so he has to be an expert in that area. That's simple. In today's world, I'm talking about the last 2-3 years, it's totally changed. It's all about expertise. It's all about pace. It's all about quality. It's all about agility. And finally, the discipline of execution. Because ultimately, I have a very beautiful plan. But if I'm not able to execute that plan and create that time-bound action, then the plan is useless. So it's important to put that discipline. So this is on the team. Now, coming back to my team, so I follow the same principle. So when we talk about the team, so they also get exposed to the emerging technologies. So we have various initiatives running within the company where we get opportunity for people and across the people to create a forum for them to understand the technology, and wherever required, we bring in our valued partners so that they can also talk about the emerging technology. So this is a collaborative effort and the learning experience. See, it's not only we are doing a project. In a project, you also learn something. When I'm doing a project, you learn processes, you learn about the function, and you learn about the technology. And last but not least, celebration and recognition. So this is very important. When we talk about team, there is no differentiation. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's from vendor, whether it's from partner, whatever is it. Once he's in that team, he's in that arena, or is playing in the football Chelsea, Manchester United league with me, then he is part of my team. And when he is part of the team, he will be recognized. And we also have a process where we recognize people. And second, the cross-functional team. So this is what I would like to say is, like in OTIS India, we have this employee connect section. So where we recognize the team of the award and everything. So that's where then what we do when we have a project, that project will have functional, which includes IT, the various functions, and everybody who is part of the project, the key people, and they will be recognized as a team of the award. So these are the things which we recognize to create the teaming, to create that partnership, to create that relation. See, most important is the relationship. Finally, it boils down to the relationship. How effectively we build that relationship. See, one of the fundamental principle of leader is building effective relationship. See, when you put the word leadership, the first core word is called lead. That means when I decide I want to be a leader, means I need to lead. Then the next word is called the ER, that is called effective relationship. So if you talk about leader, it is there, leading with effective relationship. So that is the word, beautiful word called leader.
So Subbu, there was one about, so here is something I captured. I happened to talk to one of Subbu's partners, and here is what he had to say. Okay.
Yeah.
So he said, Subbu never works as a CIO as a client and doesn't consider as a vendor. It's one team. He is never shy of picking up the phone or writing to anyone, project manager, developer, tester, etc. He connects to everyone. He's involved and is a team player. He always has a team call. Plus, he has a heart-to-heart call, one-on-one. You can share your challenges with him without fear. He will provide solutions and not critique. But he is a sheep in a fox's skin, hard taskmaster, negotiator, but soft at heart, and he will never hurt you. So that's what defines Subbu from a partner's point of view. So Subbu, does it come like a compliment?
Yeah, of course. I value every one of my team because they are also part of my journey. So the team from my partners and everyone, they also work very hard, including my teams. They really worked hard for the last 2 years. It was a very challenging time. So the people were working quite hard, relentlessly, weekend, long hours. And that too, if somebody is supporting from India, then the time zone difference. So they are my team. Okay, so that's what I love my team wherever they are. So that's what makes the difference for me. And so our relationship is not just to the projects. What we do, projects are there today, and tomorrow the projects will be different, but the people remains the same, and I'm always connected with my people. That's more important.
So Subbu, last question, it is like in a way a comment on you and me also. We're like getting a little old, right? So he says, hey Subbu, how do we make old generation senior management realize the value of technology?
Wow. That's a very, I think Shiva, that's a good question.
This is Shiva, yes.
Shiva. Okay, good. So first of all, let me put it like this. My father is 87 years old. Okay, he's in Chennai. Okay, and he's alone. So he is technology Greek better than me. Okay, I'll put it like this. Okay, he knows how to use the Apple products like FaceTime and everything. Okay, and he knows technology in detail. So again, when we talk about in any traditional organizations where we have a lot of senior people, but today it's highly visible. It's all about technology. Okay, what's more important is the fear. It's not about they don't want to support technology or they are not aware of the technology. They have only 3 things. Number 1 is the fear, and the second is what I call the comfort zone. Okay, because I'm running something, everybody comes to me. Okay, now I have that power. Okay, in a typical organization, because if I want some information, like example, if I want to know my salary, then I need to go to that guy. Today, technology is I don't need to go to anyone. It comes to my email, okay, or the portal. So point number 2 is the comfort zone, and point number 3 is they are like fence sitters. Okay, the barrier. Okay, so who will come and make me involved? It's not like they would like to be part. So these 3 things, as leaders, we own that responsibility to break that barrier. How do we remove that fear? So what is causing that fear? Why is adverse to the technology? Why is not supporting you on the ERP system? So what you need to do, you make him the champion. No, why you want to be the champion to drive everything? Put him the champion. Tell him that, boss, this is your photo, and this is what is the champion. You are the process owner. You are the data metric owner for this particular process. You drive it and you create success. I will put your name onto the board, and I will tell my MD that you are the one who created success. And you ask him to come and present in the meeting that what did he do different, rather than you presenting it every time. So then, believe me, you will create the first winning success. This is number 1, because this is what I learned in my first company in Danfoss is how do you give credit to the people who do the job? Okay, that's number 1. And point number 2, when you talk about comfort zone, and when you address the point number 1, automatically you're moving him away from the comfort zone. So even, see, he knows the process. He has been working for 30, 40 years in that process. So who is the best guy who knows the data and the process? He is the guy. So put him the owner, no? And put him the champion. So you move him away from comfort zone and you train him. That's more important. We need to train those people. We need to train in the way they can understand. Okay. And second, create some reference card, create some winning situation. And second, take him to an organization where there is change happen. So that way then he sees changes. And second, he knows the change is happening because his sons and daughters and grandson, granddaughter, they are using technology, and that person will be using technology at home. But what's more important is how do you remove that fear and comfort zone? When you do these 2 things, and believe me, he's part of your game. And you need
it. Absolutely.
That person is important for your team. When it is important, then we need to find out ways to make him important.
Yeah. So I think, Subbu, just to add to, I think, really great points. It's all about, like removing their fear, and just want to add to it. And this is something I covered in my, so last week, my ClarITea Chat was all about engaging leaders. And one of the things which I shared there was that, these leaders, you cannot make them understand anything in a committee kind of, or a large group, because in a large group, nobody is ready to say, I don't know, right? So you have to connect with them one-on-one. You have to create like that, that fearless atmosphere where they can tell everything. I don't know this. I don't know this. How does this work? How does that work, right? So you can answer all their questions. And I think that's the first and biggest point to like bring them out of that, that fear zone where they can say that, okay, So I think spending that one-on-one time is important as well. Now, so Subbu, maybe, we have just one question pending here again from Vijay. It is about, do you have any tools like DC? So it's basically like, how do you prioritize your initiatives? A quick response, because I have one more question before we close.
Yeah, in terms of the priority, see, every company has their own methodology and the process to prioritize project, and same as leaders. So we have been trained, and we are quite aware of what priorities. The number 1 simple thing, forget about the tool or anything. The priority, if the priority is aligned with the common objective and common goal of the company, and that becomes the topmost priority for the company. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's great. So yeah, it has to all flow from the strategies. So my last question, Subbu, what has been the most memorable moment for you? Especially as you drove transformation at the shop floor. What has been the most memorable thing?
Memorable moment. Wow, there are many memorable moments in life. But what's more important is in today's current situation that we are all there. We are alive. We are alive. We are healthy. And then we are talking to each other. We are digitally connected despite the barriers of people connect, but still we are digitally connect. And gratitude is one of the living experience for me. And that's what I feel, that this is one of the most memorable experience. If you ask me today, that because of the pandemic, we are all fine and we are nice, and still we are able to connect with each other. That's one. But on a professional,
so let me be a little more direct. Talk about your Danfoss farewell.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So one of the earliest, yeah, that's good. So one of the earlier memorable experience I want to share is in Danfoss. So because of my good relationship with the union, because all of us know the union in Ghaziabad is very, very violent. But the reason is because of my good relation, when I left that company after 10 years, okay, I had an exclusive farewell by the union in their canteen. So that is
exclusive farewell.
Yeah, that I cannot forget. And second, another important aspect is once we created that, once we broken the ice and they became the supportive part of my team and partner. Olden days, the IT department was separate. It's a glass door. You need to remove your slippers and come in, or the footwear, and it's like a temple. Okay, nobody comes, but everybody can see from outside. Okay, so I used to get from the because the garden is maintained by all the union, the Mali, and he used to get me a bouquet of flower every day in the morning to my cabin, every day, because that that's what I want to stress is when you have good relation, good memory, then you create good memories. Okay, that's more important. See, what we see makes the difference. If I see good, then automatically good comes to me. If I see great comes to me. That's simple. So that is what we need to look at it. See, every person has certain strengths and certain limitations. But what we need to do as leaders is, how do we maximize the strength of the team? How do we maximize the strength of the people so that we overcome the limitations to create that winning situations? That's more important for me when compared to, say, spending time in focusing on weakness.
No, absolutely. And I think I remember something that you told me, Subbu, is that they are all human beings. They are always observing you, and I think they're not observing your actions. They are observing your intentions.
Yeah.
And if they find the intentions are good, you have a way to connect. On that note, I think we are a little bit over time, but I think it's been a very engaging session, Subbu, as always. Very passionate, very communicative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just sharing those rich experiences. Thank you so much, Subbu, for coming on ClarITea Chat. And thank you, everyone, for being such an engaged audience and asking so many questions. Look forward to our next editions. And for the evening, bye-bye and have a good weekend.
Thank you, Jagdish, and thanks everyone for participating in this Digital Connect section. It was wonderful speaking to all of you and sharing my enriching experience. And thanking you for, most of you are part of this journey. And thank you very much for being part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.